Welcome back to the channel. I had intended for this video to come out on Sunday, so I'm really sorry it didn't. But after last week's sad news, we actually made the last minute decision as a family, my wife and my daughter and I, to go down into Windsor and lay some flowers and just see, the flowers and take in what was going on around there. So I didn't get the chance to put the video together, and we came back and the NFL season kicked off Sunday evening. The less said about that, the better, really. But Thursday night was race night, so let's take a look at the race.
Here we are then at the start of the race. A fair few D's in this race tonight. We've got Rebel Spawn, G Fat Bike, I Davies, JJ, P Anderson, me, and I think that's it. There's a couple of people in there, S Greaves and John Kerr, just having a bit of a ride for the evening. But you can see we start quite spread out. It took us a little while to come back together. We did sort of midway down this hill, came back together as a group. You've got to do around the bottom of this Champs-Elysees course, you go around to start the lap, and we're doing 3 laps, so about 23 kilometres in total. But I really do not like this course. I struggle with me being so heavy. Shorter, sharper hills of a couple of 100 metres, I can just punch out for as hard as I need to and get up the hill. These longer ones, they're only like somewhere between 1% and 3% on this incline, but because it's so long, it absolutely drains me. So I really do struggle with this one. But as you can see, we've come back together now, and hopefully we can keep the seas behind us for as long as possible and start to work together a bit. So we've come around the bottom. We're about to make the right-hand turn to head up to the start line to start the first of the 3 laps. Latix has gone a little way off the front here. I don't know whether that was intentional, trying to make a really early breakaway or not, but the group's sticking together quite well. And then, unfortunately, that's where things go a little bit wrong for me. It's been a long time since I've had any form of Zwift dropout. I've had computer issues where things have gone slightly wrong, but it's been a long time since Zwift has given up on me. I don't know whether I had a dodgy internet connection today or on that day or what, but as you can see, any second now, everybody just disappears and I'm left on my own. Whenever that's happened in the past, you usually have like a second or two and everyone comes back, but in this instance, they didn't, and I was left all on my own, wondering, hoping that I could keep going strong enough to stay in the group. I'm shaking my head there, I'm trying to look around to see if there's anything I can notice that's causing it. Obviously there isn't. The start over for the first lap, and yeah, I'm pretty lonely. As I was coming to the upper third of this hill, eventually, as you can see, everybody comes back. But by this point, I've got a 16-second deficit behind the guys that I was with at the start of the hill, and there isn't any making that up. When you get a dropout, you lose all the draft, you lose everything, every benefit you have of being within the group. And it kind of happened at the worst possible time. I might have survived if it had been on the downhill, just because I can. I'm slightly heavier, maybe I could have kept up with them, but no chance going up this hill. And that time has increased, it's already up to 22 seconds. I'm doing what I can. To get up to the top, but yeah, that gap's only going to increase. Now, what was going through my mind here is, what do I do? Do I back right off and join and try and stay in with the seas, or do I just take this casually and try and jump on with the seas when they came round? The decision I made was just to ride, because I felt the further along the course I was, the longer I'd be, it would be a shorter period that I'd have to try and stick with the seas. So that's the decision I made. I got myself up to the top of the hill, yeah, I was just keeping an eye on the seas behind me at this point. By the time I've rounded the top, I'm 40 seconds behind. You can see Rebel Spawn is 5 seconds in front of me, and then he disappears. And I think this was just an ongoing thing I was having. I was having dropouts of other riders throughout the ride and the race. People moving all over the place, people disappearing. Yeah, and it was only me. No one else mentioned that they were having the problem. So something obviously weird about my internet connection during this race. Rebel Spawn's back again now. But yeah, as you see, I'm 43 seconds behind on this downhill. I'm just going to take it easy, knowing that C group's going to eventually come up behind me. They're 49, 50 seconds behind at this stage. I'm just taking a breather on this downhill for as long as I possibly can, and as I said, just riding until the point I knew the seas were going to catch me. So S. Greaves has dropped back. I don't know whether that was intentionally to come and ride with me or what. I'm not quite sure. But as you can see, the gap behind me is about 6 seconds, but the riders keep disappearing and reappearing. Got S. West on there 4 seconds behind. And then Craig reappears 4 seconds behind. A couple of the other guys do. So I'm thinking to myself, I don't quite know. There must be a group. I don't know how big that group is behind me to try and latch on to. And for me, you see, Rebel Spawn disappeared and came back then. For me, I'm deciding at this point, what do I do? Do I try and stay with these guys? Do I put that effort? They came through. You can see a bigger group there now of C's. It sort of all reappeared on the screen. The timing thing on the right hand side has gone totally to pot. But I do try and catch in with this group. Put a red zone effort out, trying to catch some of the draft. But I know at this point it's the worst possible place on this course that they could have caught me, because now I'm at the bottom of this climb again, and I've got to put out some serious effort if I want to try and stay with them. But I want to stay with them to try and take advantage of that draft if I've got any hope of catching up with the D's in front. And now I know I'm really in trouble. That group's slowly moving away from me here. I'm putting in some effort to try and keep it. You can see the spiky red graph. That is basically all I've got in my legs to do. As you know, I've been off the bike for a little while, but also this is higher level effort than normal for me to try and keep up on this hill. And at the same time, the B group comes through now as well, which splits the group completely, as some of the C's try and hang on to those as they go through. I do what I can, giving out those bursts of red, but I just have to give that effort for as long as I can and then stop. Do it again and then stop, and then by the time I get to the top, it's just, am I in amongst anybody? Have I got any hope? Riders still disappearing up the road in front of me, flickering in and out, which isn't necessarily helping, and I'm not enjoying it much at this point, if I'm completely honest with you. I normally really enjoy our rides, but with technical issues, not being able to stay with the group, it's not a lot of fun. And we get to the very, very top, and I've got a couple of people around me. I've got Craig and Andy Blundell just in front a little bit, and I try and stick in with these two guys for as long as I can. And as Craig says there, yeah, the Bees totally they blew that group to pieces as they came through, with people trying to catch up, and with me trying to stay in with the C's as hard as I could as well. I basically had no chance. And at this point, Andy and Craig started pulling away from me, despite being on a downhill, and I was hoping I'd be able to make some of that gap up and make it slightly easier on myself, but I had absolutely burnt myself out by this point. And I'm not one for giving up. I never usually give up in races, but I was absolutely spent. I was mentally a bit spent as well because of the dropout, and I was just in a slightly bad mood because of it. And here I put out a bit of a burst in the hope that I can, on this last bit of the down stretch, can try and catch them. But there was no way that I was going to, even if I had caught them, I wouldn't have stayed with them anyway. So unfortunately, I made the decision just to call it a day there. I wasn't feeling brilliant. And yeah, all my effort spent and got nowhere basically. So I pulled up at the side of the road down here a little bit. So this usually gives me the chance to jump in and watch everybody else race. I love doing that. You can see there that the D's just rounding the corner with the B's just behind. I've just come back into the room because unfortunately that is the moment that I found out about the very sad news, and I was out talking to my wife and daughter about it. And normally I would love staying on and watching the rest of the race, which I intended to do, which is why I carried on recording. But I had so many people dropping in and out that I just couldn't follow what was going on really in the group. So it's all a bit rubbish. And fingers crossed we'll have a much better race next week, and something we can enjoy watching.
So the race yesterday didn't go very well. I think I'm about to experience the same thing. It's Friday night, 8 o'clock, and I'm about to do a group FTP test. Some of the guys in the T2.5 community decided to set this up for the group. I've had quite a few sign-ups. There's 7 in at the moment, but I think about 15 have signed up Although I think a lot of people, when they realise it's Friday night, we might not have quite that many people. But I thought, I've got to jump on. I've got to give it a go. I'm not expecting to be anywhere near my FTP. I've had, a month of not very good riding due to holiday and other stuff. So, but I'm going to have to give it a go. Fun, pain, all the stuff that comes with the ramp FTP test. But I'm going to jump on the bike. Here we go then, leaving the pen. I have done a workout before, I think, as part of a group ride, but never done an FTP test like this before, FTP ramp test. This keeps everybody in the ride together, so you're riding along the road at the same time as each other. It slows people down and speeds people up to keep you together for the whole ride, much like our Saturday morning banded group ride does. So you can see it's just slammed the brakes on as we're joining the main course there. I've done a ramped FTP test a few times on the channel before, but just to run through it in case you've never seen it before, this starts with a 5-minute warm-up ride. You kind of go at your own pace for those 5 minutes. I'm sitting at a nice comfortable 130 watts here, nice low heart rate. Trying to get my cadence up a bit higher, somewhere around 80 to 90. Just using those 5 minutes to get there. And then over the course of however long you can last, basically, it steps up by 20 watts every minute. You've got ergo mode set on the trainer, so it does it all for you. It gets more and more difficult as you go along, and you keep going until you can't go anymore. At that point, the ride automatically detects that you've given up, and it calculates your FTP for you. As you can see, we're all, as I said, all bunched together here, all doing a nice easy free ride at the moment before it starts to ramp up a little bit. And we're just about to come over the line to start the first segment. I'm doing 150 watts. It's just about to drop down to 100 for the first minute. Ergo mode will bring me back down now. I'm sticking, as I said, between 80 and 90 cadence. And one thing I did notice is my heart rate is quite high. I did feel like I had a bit of a sore throat. I have over the last few days. It seems better today. But I don't know whether that caused my heart rate to be slightly higher than normal. I certainly didn't feel it necessarily. And I don't feel like if it's a cold, it has affected me much in terms of cycling. Maybe I was slightly under the weather. But in this group, we've also got a wide range of abilities. We've got BCAT all the way down to DCAT, with people coming back into Zwift riding, indoor riding for the first time in a while, and just wanting to set their benchmark for the start of the Zwift Academy and through to their winter riding. So this is a perfect opportunity to do that. And we're just about to head through to the next step up to 120 watts. This is easy riding at the moment. I mean, I was going harder than the 5-minute free ride than I was at this stage. So yeah, nice and easy at the moment. Now we're heading into the first segment in the 200s. Still feeling relatively easy. My heart rate hasn't really changed much over the course of that. It did drop down. You can see it in the graph at the bottom. When we dropped into the hundreds, it did drop down a bit, but it's back up to where it was when I sort of started the first segment. Now we're at 200 watts. You can see the little average below. It says 186 watt average. It's a 1 minute average. And by the time you get to the end of the minute, the average is pretty much up to the target wattage for that minute. I think the FTP test looks primarily at your last minute within the test as your average. But still feeling rather easy at the moment. It's up into the green zone effort now on the bottom chart. Starting to maybe feel it a little bit, but nothing too strenuous. And the thing about the FTP test is it goes from easy riding to crazy difficult within the space of, seconds really. I guess that's what it's designed to do. And I actually quite enjoy it as a workout, as a ride to do. It makes me push myself quite a lot. And now we're just about to step up to the 280s. I don't think anybody has stopped yet. I think we're pretty much everybody who started the ride and the test is still in the test. And obviously the band's still keeping us together. Heart rate's now up at 175, which does feel very high for sort of 280 watts. But I keep going, feeling it a little bit. You can start to feel the build up of the previous, 40 minutes or 10 minutes of proper effort starting to build up a bit. And we can see Deflect has come to the end of his test at the back there. Awesome. And I actually think he put a message up, we might see it in a second, saying that he'd achieved a 20 watt increase on his FTP. So that's awesome going. still going, still feeling okay, about to head into the first sections of the 300s, and this, I remember, starts to get quite difficult now, and I start to feel it. Just the cumulative effort and the higher level of what's required to continue. So yeah, you can see my face, I'm concentrating a bit more, I'm trying to breathe a little bit more consistently, trying to think about what I'm doing a little bit more, but still going. Up to a 320 target now. You can see my graph at the bottom is getting a little bit wavy because I'm starting to struggle a bit to keep the legs moving. A couple more people have dropped out. And one good thing about these is being in a group is you've got that real incentive to keep going, to keep pushing, to keep riding with the guys that are on the screen with you. I know it's banded, but it is awesome motivation to have those people with you. It quite surprised me how much of a motivation it was, because I'm used to doing these tests on my own around the world, with just casual riders around. It's really good to have people in the same boat as you, feeling it the same way as you are. Just to give that extra bit of push if you can. And we're about to step into the next level up, which is 340, and you can see I'm starting to struggle now, and I don't think I make it. I think this is the point where I drop out. I tried to get up to that 340. You can see the watts going everywhere, and that's me done. And I'm quite pleased with that. I gave it everything. I hadn't intended to do an FTP test on this day necessarily. I hadn't planned it. It was just I wanted to jump on and do it with those guys who, as they disappear off into the sunset. I'm really pleased that I did it, and my FTP is about to come up, so that gives me an FTP of 242, which I find quite interesting because that is the same FTP as I had. I think it's 1 watt less. I think I had 243 from a ramp FTP test that I did before I did the workouts, the 6-week workouts that I did on Wahoo system. So I'm quite happy with that, actually. I felt that I might have gone backwards a lot further given the amount of food and drink that I've had or did have whilst I was on holiday and the break that I had from the bike. So I'm happy with that, with a 242. Then we get a nice 10-minute cool down at 75 watts. Nice casual cool down. And it did band me together eventually with some of the guys that had either dropped out previous to me or the next couple of people to drop out. So you still got to ride with some other people. But yeah, really positive that. I really enjoyed it, and maybe something we'll do slightly more often as part of the T2.5 group. So that was definitely very interesting doing that as a group ride. A couple of the guys that did it afterwards were saying, including myself really, that actually you get that extra little bit of motivation. You don't want to be the next person to drop out, and doing it as a group definitely pushes you that little bit further. In terms of my personal result, I was quite surprised to see that that had stayed the same as what my FTP test before had been. Now, I haven't got the video ready yet about my 40p test that I did on Wahoo system. Sneak peek, but my FTP pretty much, it went up by 2, I think it was, but it was very similar, whatever it was. And I think that's possibly because there was some discussion as well about the ramp test maybe overestimating FTP. And I think that's probably the case, because to do an FTP test at the start and have the same result at the end in a proper FTP test, where I felt I definitely got better, I was definitely stronger on the bike. And I've always thought that I'd never hold my FTP given on a ramp test for an hour at all. I just couldn't do it. So I think there's some disparity between the tests. But what's quite nice is to do a ramp test now after not really riding a lot, that gives me the same result as before, which means I'm probably back to where I was before I did the workout schedule, which is a bit of a shame, I guess, but it happens when you have a holiday and back off the training. And hopefully it won't take me too much longer to get back up there. But really pleased I did it as a group. Maybe it's something we'll do semi-regularly, because it was quite good fun. I had a good turnout and lots of people getting new FTPs, and a couple of people coming back for the first ride back from being out during the summer, or the first ride back to Zwift for varying reasons, and is a good base to start the training for the winter. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. Really easy to set up and really easy for everyone to join. My motivation, I think I'm slowly getting back there. As I mentioned in the last video, I am really struggling to get my head back in the game after coming back from holiday. And I'm going to be, the aim of these videos is to give my journey and, tell you guys things that are going on. And I think I went away and spent a lot of time with my family, and we live quite a busy lifestyle. My wife's busy working in the evenings, and I do the videos, and I do other work and stuff in the evenings as well. And I think I just came back from that and didn't want to lose that family time that we got over the course of the holiday. So I haven't wanted to come and sit at my computer desk constantly, or necessarily even get on the bike, because I wanted to spend more time with my daughter and my wife. So it's been a bit of a difficult shift for me, but I think I'm getting the motivation back. I'm going to try the Zwift event that's coming up now, the training event. Possibly, I might jump in and do a couple of the workouts and tick off some of those routes that I've mentioned. But I just need to get that full motivation back, and I know it will come. It will definitely come. I go through these waves anyway, so it is coming back. But I'm still riding, and I've said this before. I would have stopped riding as well. I would have stopped riding before I did this channel, before I had the T2.5 community and that stuff. I just would have stopped, and it would have taken me a long time, months, if not years, to get back on the bike. So at least I'm still riding. Talking about rides, if you want to join the T2.5 rides, we have 3 regular rides during the week. All the information is in the description below. You can click on the link and sign up to those rides. Also join the Discord channel or the Facebook group. There's a lot of discussion, probably more on the Discord channel nowadays, but the links to those are in the description below, and the Strava group and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, have a look down there if you want to come on one of those rides. A massive thank you, as usual, to all of the channel members. Your support really does mean a lot, especially when I'm not putting out as many videos, and it kind of gets me back to it when I'm motivated, when I'm feeling a little bit down. So thank you to you guys. If that's something you're interested in, link in the description below to buy me a coffee. But that is the end of this video. Getting there, getting back. I've done an FTP test. I would never have dreamt of jumping straight back into an FTP test before. So I'm getting there. I'm feeling better. And yeah, I will see you on the next one.